Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a knitty yarny podcast from the southwest of France. Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me for this new episode. I hope you're all doing very well, that you're enjoying the transition towards autumn. Here it's still 30 degrees, but it's okay. It's nice enough, it's fresh at night and in the morning, and that is the weather that I enjoy. And yeah, we're slowly getting into crispier mornings and stuff, and the leaves are falling, and wind is here because I live in a very windy place. I live between two mountains, and so basically the wind coming from the north of France just rushes on my face towards the Mediterranean Sea, and so sometimes it's quite ridiculous, but it's really nice when it just flushes autumn leaves at your face when you're going to the gym at 7 a.m. But yeah, you will see that in this episode I have quite a bunch of autumnal things to say. It's like an accessory packed episode, and I have, well, quite an exciting announcement to make. You may know about it if you follow me on Instagram, but I am launching a Patreon page. I will talk more about that at the end of the episode. That way, if you're not interested, you can just leave before. But I do want to just quickly say that the podcast on YouTube will still be there. I will not change that. Like I often say that I'm quite alone. I don't know anyone who knits around me. And so the podcast and my online presence for me, I feel like my voice is weird. Let me know if my voice is not the same as usual. I don't know what's happening. So the podcast and my online presence is a way for me to share with as many people as possible. And so the podcast for me is very precious here publicly on YouTube, and also I just don't think that it's something worth asking money for, if that makes sense. So obviously the podcast will still be there for as many times per month as possible, and nothing will change for that. Patreon will be a different way to support me, but that doesn't mean that I expect it, or that supporting me just by being here and watching the podcast and being around on Instagram is not support. It is support. So yeah, that is just quickly what I wanted to say about that. I will explain everything at the end of the episode for those who are interested. However, I do have a bunch of other things to share. I have been making quite a few accessories, like I said, and although I love knitting sweaters, it's just that I have been designing only sweaters for a while now, and I still have a lot to do because I can't say no to collaborations, and it's a nightmare. But I have made accessory and I have made the time to do them, and I just really enjoy it because it's really a welcome break. And so we're going to talk about that, and yes, I think that's it for the little introduction of the podcast. I'm gonna start, and you can find timestamps to all the different sections of the podcast in the description down below, so if you want to skip anything, feel free to look at that and jump ahead if you are not interested in a certain parts. I also put links to everything that I talk about, the patterns, the yarns, as well as my social media, patterns for sale on Ravelry, and now I have a problem with my voice, patterns for sale on Ravelry, and now on Patreon as well. I am going to start with a pattern announcement because I released a new pattern on Ravelry. It's my October pattern, and it is this cutie pie. It's the Ino cowl. It's a little fingering weight cowl with this colorwork motif, and this is really like a basic quick knit. So if you're a colorwork beginner, This is great. It's also kind of like a basis. I really like doing that for small colorwork accessories. It's like I like to offer a pattern that's like a canvas, and you know how it works, and so you can make up your own afterwards if you like it. So it's a fingering Mökki using 2 colors. It's a very simple colorwork motif that doesn't have any floats to catch, and yeah, it looks like this. Mine is knit out of Heidi ID merino yak and silk, so it's a really drapey, pretty yarn, warm and soft. And if you might recognize them, because these are the yarns I ordered to make my melon headband by Sari Nordlund, and I'm still working on my red headband. It's the same color. I don't have anything to say about it right now, so I guess you'll see it when it's finished, but I'm still working on it and loving it. But these are the yarns that I ordered to make that headband, and when I received them I just thought they looked really nice together, and so I pictured this little accessory, and it's just really nice and fun. So it's a little cow. The pattern, like I said, is really a way for me to help you if you want to create quick, nice Christmas gifts, for example. Oh my god, I said Christmas. You know what I mean. But yeah, so the pattern gives you all the information you need to know in case you want to make a different size. So it gives you the math formula that you need to do if you just want to cast on a different number of stitches. The pattern tells you everything about that so that you can do it yourself, and it also has 2 charts to make it even easier, because basically traditionally the charts in colorwork, they're like white and then the contrast color is gray or black, or well, sometimes you have symbols to make it print friendly, but most of the time the contrast color is the darker color in the chart, which is how I did mine here. But sometimes you don't knit it like that. Sometimes your contrast color is a light color, and you can see if you check my testers versions that some of them used a variety of different colors, some of them used speckled yarns, some of them used 3 colors actually, and making like a different color in the center here of the diamonds. And the thing is, depending on the motif that you're doing, if you're doing a motif that is visible from the start, that is easy to visualize, it's not a problem. But here, as you can see, like I said, there's no floats, and so you're just making teeny tiny motif, and you don't really see what you're doing until the big reveal at the end. And so this means that when you're looking at the chart that says 1 case white, 1 case grey, and your yarns are the opposite, well, then you can make mistakes pretty easily, and it's a bit annoying. And so I've never seen it done. I guess it must have been done before, but I've never seen a pattern that just switches the contrast. And with my testers we came up with the idea, and I just thought it was interesting, so I'm gonna try to do that when the motif has that problem. And that's the case in this pattern. So the pattern has 2 charts, one with a dark contrast color and one with a light contrast color. So basically when you look at them side to side, it's like an optical illusion kind of thing, and it's pretty cool. It was a bit weird to do, and I was like, oh my god, did I make it right? But yes, and I just found it so interesting how such a simple design just basically builds up into being a pattern that's as comprehensive as possible and that offers so many options. That's the thing with simpler designs. You can really do more in the pattern and make them the best you can by offering all these different options with the sizing, and as well with how to work the colorwork. So there's tips on the colorworks as usual, etc. But overall, it's just a very simple knit and quick, and like the shape is kind of bumped in the middle because there's a little bit of increases and decreases after and before the ribbing. And yeah, it's just a really, really simple color with this pretty motif that I originally wanted to put on a cardigan, and it's still in the plans, but I just thought it looked cool as a cal as well. So putting it, wearing it to show you how it is. So I didn't want a cal that was too loose because I still wanted it to be a bit warm. It's really like transitional period, but it's not either too tight and bulky and too warm. Like I said, it's still 30 degrees here in France, so I don't really need yet that big massive warmth around my neck. So this was like the perfect compromise for it, and you can see kind of how it stands, and if I have a jacket, and I could have left my hair in it as well, and it just sits like this, and it's just really nice and drapey, and it's so soft. The yarn is so lovely, and yeah, what I really like about this is that you're able to make up your own after. Like I said, you have with the pattern all the tools you need if you want to make your own chart, for example. So that could be very, very fun to see. And yeah, I really hope you like it. There is 20% off the pattern for the release, of course, as usual, for the first week, and it's the code INO for like until Sunday. And yeah, it will get you 20% off if you like it, and if you need just a little quick autumnal fix, I think it can be nice and fun. Speaking of ID, because this is the yarn that I bought from them, the shawl, the Arroyo shawl that I present, I don't know why I'm rolling the R. The Arroyo shawl that I presented to you on last episode, that I also knitted with ID's yarns, not the same yarn but the same dyer, is now available for single purchase on Ravelry. So if you have been waiting for that, it's now, you can buy it now as a usual pattern. It's on Ravelry, and yeah, I just wanted to mention it because lately I know Instagram doesn't really want to show my posts to my followers. So yeah, Arroyo, if you liked it, the shawl I presented to you last episode is now available as a single download, as a single purchase on Ravelry. So yes, but today's star is this little cow. Two different things, like texture versus colorwork. You pick what you prefer. But yeah, I believe I said everything about Ino. It was a really nice little fun project. Like I said, it was quite a really. I'm really. I keep moving everywhere. I'm sorry. I have like, I don't know. Like my abs are sore, and so I feel like I should move everywhere. You don't need to know that. Yes, it was really fun having a fun little quick knit. Hasn't been the case for a while, and so that was really, really enjoyable to work. And yeah, I hope you like it too. And that's all I had to say about it. So I'm gonna move on to my other finished objects, because that's all I'm gonna be sharing with you this week. I have done quite a few test knits in the past few months or so. I have 2 sweaters that I test knitted that are finished, but I'm not going to show them. I'm not going to show them to you, because if I show you them now, then I have to show them again once they're published by the designer, and so it just feels a little bit like advertising upon advertising. And like I said, with Ino and with Patreon coming at the end of the episode, I think we're having enough of the advertisement for this episode. But yes, so I do have 2 test knits to share with you, patterns that are now available, so I'm gonna do just that. The first one is a couple of hats, like I said, keeping on with the little accessories. And I was very happy to test knit the Baker Joe hat, which is a pattern by a French designer called Kassije Knits. Her name is Jessica, with a K. She's a really sweet designer. She makes really nice children garments, but also she has a couple adult sweaters that are really nice, and really she's really into textural work and really interesting works that she does. And she recently put out a call for this little hat, which is absolutely adorable and I really enjoyed that pattern. So it's the Baker Joe hat. It comes in baby sizes but adult as well, and let me put it properly so you can see how it works. And so I was really impressed, not only with how good it looks, because it looks so nice and fun, but how fun it was to knit, and how just well made the system is. Because basically it has a very interesting construction. It's not just your standard hat that you knit round and round. You start with a provisional cast on and you make short rows. So you're gonna make short rows. So that's why, as you can see, it's an angle here, and it really covers the back of your head and the ears really well. And it means that the top of the hat here sits a bit higher, which happens to look very good with bangs, right? And I just found that was really interesting and really fun to do, and it just makes the hat go super quickly, because if you're doing short rows, well, you're not doing a full round, and as soon as you finish the short rows, then you just knit a little bit and then you start the decreases. And there are 2 different types of decreases. There's the spiral decreases, which is what I have here, and then there's the cross decreases, which is a little bit more gender neutral, though I don't know, but if you want to make the baby version for baby boy, for example, you have the 2 options. And then once you've done that and closed the top of your hat, you are gonna unpick the provisional cast on and knit the ribbing. And it's just really fun and different, and I really enjoyed knitting it. And basically I knitted my ribbing only 3 centimeters because first I ran out of yarn, but then it happens that it's the right length so that it stays just above my bangs, as you can see, and it just falls really well. And then once you knit the provisional, the ribbing, the border, knit it flat, then you cross it, and you just have to make a little seam here. And this is maybe the only tricky part of the pattern, although it's not really complicated. It's just that when you cross it, you will notice that the top ribbing here just falls naturally along the line of the bottom ribbing here. So that's where you seam. And yeah, if you do that, it works pretty well, and it doesn't make any weird folds or creases on top. And I just really like how it looks. It's funny how it has that retro style, but at the same time it's super wearable, like it's not in your face, you know? I really like it. The pattern uses sport weight yarn. I used, for my first version, Malabrigo Arroyo in the Plomo colorway, which is this really lovely varied grey. It's leftovers from my Shifty pullover, and I really like the hat. So the pattern is available in English as well, and in, like I said, in baby version and in adult version. You probably saw it because it just had a little buzz on Instagram, and it's well deserved because it's so super cute. And yeah, I liked it so much that I made a second version, and this time I made it in DK weight. And these are leftovers from a sweater design that is currently being test knitted. This is yarn from Malabrigo. I hope I'm saying that okay, which is a Danish indie dye which she sent to me yarns of DK non-support merino. She sent it to me like over a year ago, and I just feel so awful because it took me forever to start designing with it, and I just feel really bad. But now the sweater is done, and the sweater is really beautiful. And I had leftovers. Unfortunately, she does not have any DK weight left in her shop at the moment, but she just dyes really lovely, earthy, soft colors. So if that's your thing, definitely have a look at her Instagram. And yeah, this is like a really nice, dirty, soft pink. And so this is DK weight, and since I already made my test knit version, I was a little bit less careful with gauge, and so the gauge is not quite right for this one, and it ended up being bigger. But I really like how it's a bit slouchier, right? But it still sits well, and it's not like dropping or anything. It just works really well. And since it's DK weight and the yarn is non-superwash, it's a bit warmer, and it's just gonna be absolutely lovely for the winter. And have you seen, oh my god, a French illustrator, like a graphic designer, she works for Jessica, for the designer. She makes quite a few schematics and things and logos for knitting designers in France. Her name is Charline. It's Charline MZD Illustration on Instagram, and she drew me. Basically, she took my picture of me modeling the hat, the Baker Joe hat by Jessica, and she drew my picture. I didn't have such a nice day, and at the end of the day I saw that and was like full panic mode. First time someone ever drew me, and I was like, but that is too beautiful. That's not me. That's just so weird. It's just so lovely. And I will link to her Instagram if you want to check it out in the description. And I just wanted to mention it because when I saw that drawing of the hat, of like my picture of the hat, I was just like completely hysterical, and I just went nuts. And I exchanged DMs with Jessica, and I was like, oh my god, this is absolutely insane, you pretty hat, look at what she did. And it's just, people must have thought I was completely insane, and yes, maybe I am, but I just thought like the drawing is really, really beautiful. And I think it really captures how cool the hat is, because it looks really soft and gentle and retro, but at the same time it's a bit effortless, and I just really like the style of it. And like I said, Jessica, she did a great job at designing this. It's really, really good. And yeah, she really deserves the little buzz that it had on Instagram, and I hope you will enjoy. Oh my god, you will enjoy it if you have a look. Like I said, the pattern exists for babies and for adults in various sizes, and I knit size 2 because it's what gave me 3 centimeter negative ease. So that's kind of how you choose a hat. You should have like 2-3 centimeter negative ease. That's how it goes. And yeah, it just fit really well. Like, even though the grey one is definitely the proper fit, but even if you make it a little bigger, it works still quite well. And I absolutely love my versions. And well, even though it's still hot in the day, in the morning it's starting to get chillier, and I needed hats to go to the gym, and these are just absolutely perfect, and I'm gonna get lots of wear out of them. And yeah, I really, really like them. So Baker Joe by Kassije Knits, if you want to have a look, if you haven't already, because like I said, you probably have seen it going around on Instagram. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed test knitting this, and it was a good thing to test a little accessory as well. And moving along to my last project that I want to share, it was also a test knit. So I test knitted this back in June, but it was secret, so I couldn't share it. basically I had skeins of De Rerum Natura Gilliatt in my stash. I had skeins of it in the caramel colorway, so this, and I think I talked about it in January. I wanted to make the Caspian sweater by Jared Flood, which is like a Guernsey sweater with cables at the top, and I do want to make the sweater, but I think it would be better in a softer color, whereas this caramel, it kind of needs to be the main point of the project, I think, because it's a little bit, yeah, it just didn't match after all. And I was looking for a more minimalistic sweater. I wanted something simple with some texture detail, so that it would really show off the color, basically. And I'm subscribed to the test knitting newsletter of Sustainablist, which is Verena Cohrs, which is a German designer who is one of the founders of Making Stories. And I really like her designs. They're usually exactly that. Usually really basic staple garments with a little bit of a texture interest. And back in June, I received, she made a test call for a sweater called Mökki. It's the O with the dots. We say tréma in French, and I forgot the name of that accent. So I don't know if it's Mökki, maybe. I'm not gonna try and speak Finnish or whatever language it's supposed to be. She didn't have any pictures because the pattern is published in the latest edition of Laine magazine, and so I have it here. I'm not gonna make a review of the magazine. I just quickly want to mention that if you get the magazine, and you probably have seen it on Instagram, but just in case, there's an interview of Lavagna Patriciella, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. There's an interview in there, and very unfortunately her words were misinterpreted, and the author of the interview just did quite the oopsie writing the interview. And so if you get the magazine, make sure that you go on Laine's website, because there is the updated, corrected version by Lavagna Patriciella, who basically corrected the article and made sure that it was right for her and her personal identification. So make sure that if you get the magazine, you get the corrected article on Laine magazine and read that. Most of the retailers I've seen, like yarn shops and things, they actually print the correct article and slide it in, but just in case that's not the case of the magazine that you get, make sure to check the right article. Lavagna Patriciella, if you don't know, she makes really nice, often shawl designs. Like, she has a really interesting use of texture and color, and she has one in here which is a lovely wrap, and if I can just catch it here, that's her design here, and I really like it. I got the magazine basically for the cover, design, which is the wood cabin, which I really like, and a couple of other sweaters that I found are nice. But yes, the sweater I test knitted is Mökki by Verena Cohrs, and cabin in Finnish, so it is Finnish. I want to remind everyone that I did try to learn Finnish when I was in high school on my own, and I saw that there was the 12 cases and the declensions and everything, and I did it for like 2 months, and then I said, okay, that's just not a thing. Not happening. Anyway, Mökki. So as you can see, it's this raglan sweater with just this texture slipped stitch ribbing on the side, on the underarm, and the split hem at the bottom. And so you can see what I mean, like, even without having pictures for the test knit, which was quite fun, by the way. It was quite an interesting process. I've never done a mystery knit along or whatever, so this was kind of my first time knitting without knowing what I was supposed to do. And yeah, it's exactly what I wanted, something minimalistic and simple, and it's just really nice. This was a little bit weird when we did that. So without knowing what you were supposed to do, the edging just sounded weird, and I had a lot of uncertainties. But as usual, what you need to do is just follow the instructions, and it works, and it just makes this really nice edge in here. It's really clever how you pick up stitches under here to knit the second part. I really like that detail. On the original design, it's quite a long tunic length sweater, and this doesn't really suit me. I think it's maybe the one thing that I just can't do. Often, like, we say things that this shape doesn't suit me because of my body shape, and often it's because you consider that you have to hide something or whatever, and I think that's absolutely a horrible thing, and I completely disagree to it. But I think the tunic thing is an actual physical issue, because I'm really small, right? And my upper body, like, I have a really teeny tiny upper body, but then I have some hips, right? And so basically, if a tunic, it just doesn't work because it's either way too loose at the top or way too tight at the hips, and I don't like it. And also, like, I could shape it, but I don't like shape things, like, not my thing. So I made it shorter after asking the designer if it was fine, and it was. And so mine is just the usual sweater length, and it's just really simple and wearable. You can see my pictures on my project page on Ravelry. And yeah, I enjoyed knitting it. It was quite fun. The only thing is, and I will say that I didn't check how it is in the finished pattern because I didn't have time to read through the pattern, but here you have some decreases here, and I did exactly as the pattern says, and I just think that it's not really neat, and it would have been pretty easy to just make it so that the ribbing pattern stays neat here at the border, but that is not very neat, but it's just a little detail here. But yeah, it just suits me really well. So it uses worsted weight. You could use a DK for that gauge because it will make probably like more of a looser, a little bit more drapey garment, because this is like gonna be super warm. But yeah, Mökki by Verena Cohrs, which is in the latest edition of Line magazine. And yeah, so like I said, I knitted it like back in June, so it's a little bit far away, but I did write some notes in my project page on Ravelry, so there's that. And I think with that is all I had to say for this episode. Yeah, like I said, I've been knitting on other things, but not much worth sharing again until they're completed and ready to show off. Yeah, I think that's it. I am going to now present my Patreon launch to you, so if you are not interested in that, thank you for watching the video so far, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. But if you are interested in hearing me talk about my Patreon launch, whether or not you want in, now is the time. So I want to point out, first of all, that my Patreon will be offered in both languages, French and English, but I like put French first because after making a few polls and stuff on Instagram, I just it was very clear that the French speaking audience was more interested rather than you guys. So yeah, that is why you will see in the Patreon post that the French is on top, but fear not, the English is always there, because again, I want Patreon to as well be a space where I can share with as many people as possible. And so it will be a different little space for us to exchange, and I just really want it to be somewhere where we can talk about different things. So I'm not gonna go too much in detail about what is Patreon and how it works. I assume that you kind of know. Basically, what I like about Patreon is that it's not just a financial support system, like some tip systems exist online, or Twitch, for example, which is a streaming service. On Patreon, the principle is not that you pay for a content that is already available for free, which I don't have any problem with that. It's just, unfortunately, we live in a situation where independent creators, whatever their media is, whatever it is that they're doing, it's really hard for them to get a living out of their work. And I just think that it's good that we can have a system that makes it so that if you like the work someone is doing and you want them to keep doing that work, you can support them financially. And I think that's nice, whether or not you actually get the benefit from it. For example, there's quite a few knitting designers on Patreon around there. I'm thinking like there's a few, lot more. I know a lot more French ones, weird enough, but you probably know Melody Hoffman, B Mandarins, which is French, but she does her Patreon mostly in English, so that's how it is. And I support her from time to time on Patreon, and I actually never knitted one of her patterns. I just like the works that she's doing, and I want her to keep doing it, so when I can, I like to support her. But it's still kind of an awkward situation, and what I really like about Patreon is that it's not just that. It's not just that donation system. It's actually a way for people to purchase content, special content. And so it's another way of buying patterns, for example, and to have access to a specific content. And that's where I think it's a good thing, because that way you actually are able as a creator to offer specific things there. And I think that's just a bit more interesting. So the reason I'm joining Patreon is that, like, I've been working on it for quite a few months now, and I had requests quite regularly. And yeah, the thing is, my situation is that I have to release 2 patterns per month in hopes of making a little bit of income, proper income, even though it's not the case. But without the 2 patterns per month, it would be not possible at all. And it's still running a little bit after time, all the time, or at the time. Like, you understand what I mean. And so it just kind of prevents me from taking the time to go into more like bigger project that will require more time for me, or to be able to offer more technical contents and things. For example, I often have like in the podcast, I will mention something like a technique or something, and I will have a question in the comments. And the thing is, it's just weird for me to get back on it on the following podcast. It just doesn't work. And so yeah, there's quite a few things like this that meant that I was really interested in having a different platform like Patreon to offer specific content. So here it is. I'm launching my Patreon on October, and so the principle is that you choose a level of support, which you can change back and forth. It's like, what I really like about Patreon is that you can come and go. If you only want to join for a little bit, for 1 month, if you see that I announce specific things that you're interested in a certain month on Patreon, then you can just join there and then leave, and you can change your level of support as well. I think that's something that is worth talking about a bit more. It's not a full-time commitment, and like there's no need to constantly support at the same level or to constantly support at all, by the way. But yes, so I will offer 3 levels of support, and they're just called 1, 2, 3 because I don't have any idea. But yes, so the first level of support is kind of this like support thing. It's $2 per month. So I'm talking dollars because that's how Patreon bills and pays. So there's gonna be taxes and things, but the level is $2 per month, and basically every month I will make an article presenting the upcoming designs, so you will know first about all the designs that will be published during the months to come, with pictures and descriptions and things. And there will also be privileged access to test knits. So at the same time that I do my test calls by mail, there will be an article on Patreon. So if you're on my testers list, the mailing list, and you want to go on Patreon, maybe let me know so I can delete you from the testers list, so that way you don't receive twice. Maybe you prefer that. So that's the first level. There will also be some surprises from time to time, like for special occasions and stuff. So that's the first level of support, and it's really the level that you wanna help a little bit, and you wanna be present in the little Patreon community, and that's the level 1. Level 2 is when you actually start purchasing things. So it's $5 per month, and you will get the same thing as level 1 plus 1 free pattern per month, and it will be a pattern of your choice. I did not want it to be limited to the recent patterns, because for example, if you don't like any of this month's patterns, you can just go and get an order of my patterns, for example, an older pattern of mine. English. So 1 free pattern of choice per month, so it's a different way of purchasing my patterns for you, and it's kind of level because it's $5 per month, and while some of my garments patterns are higher, so it kind of levels everything. And you will have access to the monthly video, and so the monthly video will be recorded in French. I'm sorry, but I can't do both, and like I said, most of the people were interested in Patreon were French speaking, so the video will be recorded in French, but I take the time to subtitle them myself, so they're proper subtitles, not automatic generated subtitles that just are insane. So yeah, there's a title in English, obviously. So if you're interested in that, you will have access to these videos. There will be technical discussions, things like this. For example, the first video for October is behind the scenes of the creation of the Inocal. So from start to finish, the testing process, how the pattern was made for this and that. So it's a fairly simple pattern, so it's a little bit awkward. But yes, for example, there would be some of these design vlogs, for example, or there will be like discussions on sock yarns, reviews of specific techniques. For example, next month's video will be little tips and tricks knitting a sweater, so finishing techniques and stuff like this, and discussions on gauge. And all of you run away now and never want to hear about me ever again because you're tired of gauge talk. But yes, there might be videos like this. So yeah, technical discussions and just an answer to your questions. So if you want me to address a specific topic, you will be able to, and I will make up the content for you, and we can look into things and search and learn together. That's kind of the principle of these videos. Again, they will mainly, like, they're recorded in French, so that's the thing. But just know that if you are there because you want to support me and because you want the patterns every month, these videos will also be there in case you want them. And then there's the third level, level 3, which is same thing as everything else, and a second free pattern. So this is the $10 level, and it's really just a bonus level. Basically, I didn't want to limit the technical videos to this level because I personally think that $10 is a lot, and I wanted the community on Patreon to be as big as possible and to have as many people as possible to exchange and to build the monthly video chats. So if you want to get the $10 level, thank you so much. You don't have to stay there all the time, you can just do it from time to time, whatever. But you will get 2 patterns for free. So 2 codes to download, 2 patterns every month from my Ravelry designs, and also the videos and etc. So yeah, that is kind of the thing. I hope you understand the fact that I record the videos in French first. Like I said, I did polls, and really not a lot of people were interested that were only English speaking, but obviously you are very welcome on Patreon. And like I said, everything, if you go and check the page, which I will link below, everything is written in English as well, and all the test calls, the article every month that will present the patterns, the designs, will be in English. Everything will be in the double language. It's just that for the videos you will have to read the subtitles, which, you know, I know most English speaking people aren't used to subtitles, but you know, it can be a good thing, because then what you can do is that you can go on Netflix and watch foreign TV series in the original language. Like, you can watch La Casa de Papel in Spanish, please, and Dark, and which is German, I believe. I need to watch Dark and stuff like that. And you can watch Japanese and other things in different languages. There's also French shows on Netflix, but I don't recommend them because I know it's a thing. It's a thing also in France, because I'm sidetracking here, but I think it's interesting to talk about this. In France we have, I'm gonna sound really pretentious here, but there's a lot of French cultural offer. So you don't need, when you're in France, to learn English or read subtitles either, because a lot of things are dubbed, which is more or less good. Used to be brilliant, now is quite honestly, they're just rushing to make it as fast as possible, because if not, everything is just available online and it's not good quality. I mean, I don't like dubbing personally, unless in animations, for example, that makes perfect sense. Anyway, and it's a really difficult and very interesting job. But the reality is that the quality of dubbing in France, and from what I hear in most countries that dub things, it's just not great most of the time for live action things in particular. But everything is dubbed in French, and there's obviously a huge cultural offer that's from French productions, and so we don't need to look for foreign language culture. And I'm saying that because, for example, I know from my boyfriend, who is Romanian, that, for example, when he was a kid, he didn't have cartoons in Romanian. He had cartoons either in English or in German, and so that's quite interesting for me, because that is something that, I guess, the French government is really implicated in, is providing French content, and sometimes to the extent of actually damaging the French cultural system, because they're doing stupid things to prevent from English speaking content to get present, which is absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, my point is, it means that in France you also have a lot of people who are not used to watching content in a foreign language with subtitles, and I just think it's a shame because it's very limiting and it just makes you lose a bit of access to different things, and it's just, you put yourself this barrier because you're not used to it. Some people really can't deal with subtitles, and that's like, I'm not being an ableist moron here. You know what I mean. But if it's a matter of habit, I highly encourage that you try at least once to make the switch. Like, just, you know, if you're gonna watch a Netflix show that you see is not recorded in English for the first time, originally I mean, just try and make the switch to original version with subtitles and see if you get the hang of it. Because yeah, it just opens door and you don't have that awkward dubbing thing, which sometimes can really put you off. And I completely understand that. Some dubbings are great, some really don't help the quality of what you're watching. So anyway, just to say that yeah, I know a lot of English people aren't used to that. It's the same in France, but just know that the subtitles are there. And also, the thing is, you may notice that when I speak in the video, I say a lot of and I repeat myself a lot, and I say the same sentence 20 times in a row, just formulated differently, and it's really ridiculous. And I noticed that when I'm subtitling my Patreon videos, and so you could actually watch the Patreon videos like in sped up. You speed them up, and you're gonna see that like I talk for 5 minutes and there's just one sentence subtitles, because essentially I'm just repeating the same thing. I don't know why, but that's what I do. And so basically the subtitles are a better version than what I'm actually saying when I'm talking in French in the video. So, you know, yes, it's subtitles, but it's actually better than the spoken thing. So yeah, I hope you understand. In any case, like I said, all Patreon content is available in English, and it's a way for you, if you want, to get my patterns as well, if that's the thing that you would like to do. I know there are a few mad people out there that get all of my patterns every time I release one. You are insane. Thank you so much. But yeah, Patreon is another way for you to do that, and to actually do that at a smaller price. If you get the $5, you get one pattern, which, like I said, is less than my garment patterns, and if you get the $10 level, you get two, so it's even better. So yeah, I believe I've said everything about Patreon. I also have a special little gift. So I wanted to have this special offer to thank the people who... Mosquito. Horrible. I also... Please join me on Patreon. I don't kill mosquitoes. Whatever. I wanted to have a special little thing for the people who would join me for the launch of Patreon. So you can just join for this if you want. That's totally a thing. Basically, I am releasing an exclusive pattern to Patreon, which will be free for Patreons of level 2 and 3. So from level 2, $5, you will get the Caliu hat. So it's a special pattern. It will be exclusive to Patreon for a while. Maybe I'll publish it on Ravelry for sale like in 6 months, or I don't know. But it's a a worsted weight or decay weight hat that has a little texture motif on it. So it comes in a bunch of different sizes. It's an adult hat. A bunch of different sizes with like a different arrangement of the motif to accommodate for in-between sizes. Basically it's 2x2 ribbing, and then you have this seed stitched and cable motif. It's written instruction and it's charted as well, and it's the Caliu hat. So Caliu means soft warmth coming from the ashes in Occitan. Caliu. So yeah, Occitan. And soft warmth coming from the ashes is the exact sentence that Audrey, which is the founder of a knitting cafe in Toulouse and my official Occitan name provider, told me. That's exactly the words that she used. So if you found the sentence funny, so do I. But yeah, Caliu in Occitan then, which is again the regional language around Toulouse in the southwest of France. And yeah, I just thought it was quite appropriate because of how the texture is like crickling like ashes and embers and things, and it's just, yeah. Mine is knit out of Retrosaria brusca. It's quite funny because that yarn, you see it, you recognize it. And I posted a picture of it on Instagram like last week. It's the colorway 5C, and I made a pom-pom because I like pom-poms, and I just thought it fitted well with the crown of the hat that is quite peculiar because of the motif. But yes, so this pattern will be free for the patrons who join me for October. I wanted to of course thank the people who will be there, but also invite you in maybe, and just if you want to check what it's gonna look like, how it is, if you want to have a look at the first monthly video and see if you can deal with the subtitles, you can come. You will get the benefits for 1 month plus the pattern of the Caliu hat for free. And yeah, it was just a way for me to thank you and to say, if you want to just test the Patreon support, you are welcome to do so, and just get in and out, just get the pattern out. I really have no issues with that whatsoever, so feel free to come and get the pattern if you like, but it's a way for me to thank the people who will do that, so that's why it will be exclusive for Patreon for a little while. But yeah, I really like it. It's like very caramelly vibe around, but I just really like it. So yeah, I think you understand the kind of accessory madness at the moment. I just love that hat so much. I really like it. And I'm just gonna keep it. I'm gonna be that person that wears a hat indoors now, because I just like, between this one, which I just love the color and the texture so much, and these ones who are just so preppy, like I'm definitely turning into that person who wants to wear headwear inside. It's ridiculous. But yeah, that's all I had to say about Patreon. If you're still here, thank you so much. I hope that you are happy with what I have to offer there. Really, don't hesitate to just tell me what you would like to see. Like I said, the point is to have things there, like a bit more personal interactions, basically about technical topics. I could show you like specific techniques, like I don't know, I could make tutorial on double knitting. I could I have little surprises plans for special occasions that I'm really excited about. Yeah, little things like this. So don't hesitate to, if you want to support me on Patreon, don't hesitate to participate and just give me feedback. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, if you are not able to support me on Patreon and you're just there because the video is running and you had a nap and you forgot to turn it off and you're waking up now, just thank you for watching the video. And just know that, like I said, it's just a different way of support, and it doesn't undermine all the other types of support, whether or not they are financial ones. So yeah, I thank you so much for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you in the middle of October for some news and some releases, and I'm going in Paris like for a few days. Well, supposed to meet my boyfriend in Paris for a little weekend together there, but like apparently there's some strike happening in the plane company that he's going to use, so I hope that's gonna work. But yeah, I'm going to Paris. I don't know, I don't think I'm gonna hang out in the yarn shops over there, but who knows. I will see you when I'm back from that, and I wish you a very happy beginning of October, and I will see you next time. Bye!